Alright. Hello, everyone. Just waiting for everyone to get settled in here as always. Thank you guys for joining. There is one friend. Hello. What's going on? What's going on? I feel like
Mimi's eating like the trash goblin that she is because she fed everybody else first and then mom forgot to eat. So,
that's fair. Oh my god, hello from Mississippi. Hello from the East Coast. For me, it's just like, I don't know. I'm sitting here thinking to myself, oh yeah, this filter looks decent because the lighting in here is suspect. I got like every lamp on, but now I'm like, no, I look dead. I look like a ghoul, but that's okay.
you don't look like a ghoul.
Ghoul
The
at level.
fuck? I've
Okay.
got a light that spaz the fuck out and it's like an LED and my husband's like, "Oh, it's on its way out. That's why it's flickering like that." I don't think that's what it is.
No, okay, the electric, like, the wiring in my house is such mega ass. Like, we always get these surges, the lights just flare, and I'm just like, this is
Oh
weird.
no.
I am
Oh,
dark. Watch
hello.
this thing. It's just flickering. It's just fucking flickering.
No,
And
That's
then it'll
funny.
just go, "Hi."
no, you know what it is?
Like,
Like,
what
I
the
go to
fuck?
bed at night and I, like, have my lamp on, and then what the fuck? The fridge kicks on, and my light just, like, flares really bright, and I'm just like, oh, that's healthy. That's good.
Oh no.
That's probably because your house is kind of like mine, where it's not really built for the kind of wattage that we use now. So the fridge like
No, it
sucks all the
wasn't.
juice, and then the compressor puts it back out.
It's so bad. No, like, and like we can't run the toaster oven and the microwave at the same time, or else the fuse will blow.
Oh
So
Hmm.
no.
several times I've sent Roman into the wasp infested, spider infested basement to like flip the switch, and I'm like, I'm not going down there. We went down there and we were like, what's this on the ground? Oh, they're like black wasps, just like twitching there in the winter because they're they're
Oh.
dark.
I am
No,
so scared of bugs. No, I could
it was.
never.
Oh, we were like, bye. No, he had to like reach his hand through the thickest spider web to get to the circuit breaker, and I was like,
No. We'd be
I,
burning the
on the
house
other
down.
hand, am collecting all my wasp nests and my mud dauber spotters because I don't do baneful workings, but I do believe that if you fuck with me non-consensually, it's gonna come back,
I mean,
and they
that's
help.
fair, and I wish I had saved the because wasps are stupid. And they keep trying to build nests right on my awning, like outside my door. So
Yeah.
we've
Ooh.
had to spray several of them. And one time, my boyfriend like we were like running, we sprayed a wasp nest and we're running, and then all of a sudden, he just like takes off like two times as fast as he was going. And I was like, oh no, the man's got stung or something. I see him like in the breezeway, shirt off, slapping at himself.
Oh
It was a beetle. It was a
no.
beetle. It wasn't anything
Oh, that poor
else.
baby.
So
It's a mood. It's a mood.
I was dying in the yard. I was like, okay, all right, this is where we are.
Too. Kenny and I are both scared of bugs, but like I oh no, we get centipedes here, so that's fun. And we live on the ground floor, our apartment. So, and we're
Hmm.
right by water, and they're like water. So, but now, once we move, hopefully that'll be different. And by the time we move, we'll be allowed to have the cat. So I'll just be able to hold her up to the bug and be like, get it.
We get earwigs when it
Ugh.
rains real big. You want to
Earwigs.
talk about a creepy looking fucking bug? That's a
Yeah,
creepy
like,
bug.
No, the worst. Well, the worst I ever got was when we first moved in. My husband's painting one of the bedrooms, and all of a sudden I hear, "Lena, come here, look!" And outside the window, there's a moth, like literally like this big. I'm
Aw.
still terrified to go outside. And my husband loves bugs, so he'll be like. The other day, he found a baby wolf spider. I found a baby wolf spider in the sink, and he took it and put it somewhere in my kitchen to live. I'm like, Jack,
Aw.
not the behavior that I consent
nope.
to. No, there was one time a wasp got stuck in my house and I couldn't get it out and I
Oh hell
didn't want to
no.
get stung. So I literally drove to my parents' house. My parents live an hour
Yeah,
away.
that's something that I would do.
Spy.
That is something I would do. I
Packed the kids up. I was
understand.
like, peace, done.
No,
Nope.
oh my god, no. Literally in our house every winter we get like a bunch of ladybugs and lady beetles. I'm used to them now. If they beat into my head while I'm sitting there, that's fine. But one time I remember like hearing a cricket, and we can hear them from outside. But I was like, this cricket sounds oddly close. Sure enough, it's in my hallway, just like a whole ass cricket. And I was like,
Nope.
No.
Cool.
Oh my god! The coolest thing we ever got though was a praying mantis.
Those
that
scared
was cool. No, but it was like from a safe distance, and it was outside. He never came in my house, so that one was consensual bugness. But
no, I remember freaking out. I was like, oh no, oh my god, what did I do? Because like I had something that looked like a cockroach in my house, and I was like, how did that get there? And I was like, my house is clean. Where did it come from? No, they're all outside under like the stone of my like stairway. Yeah. They're all there in the dirt, and they just kind of pop in near the door. So I'm like,
sometimes it just doesn't matter how much you clean or anything. Depending on the climate you live in, you'll get a critter or two in there.
Yeah.
It's not about being the clean person either. It doesn't matter how much you clean. You're gonna have critters because we live in a world with critters.
We got,
especially if you live in a more woodlandy area, like that's that. You know,
if you have any tree, a flower tree, a bush, any kind of garden, any kind of water, you're gonna have critters.
Yeah, our apartment's right by the tree. It's right, like, our apartment has, like, a built-in, like, water feature, and it's right next to our apartment, so, yeah, we get the stuff.
No, Rhode Island's, like, 99% swamp. There's, like, creeks and rivers everywhere on my street, so it's just like, hello, mosquitoes. Hi.
Yeah. Well, okay, let's...
Alright, so here we are.
No, I'm still eating, I don't care.
So we'll move from the topic of bugs to something even more disturbing, which is purity culture.
Oh man, God! All right, cool. Today we've got a
Mondo.
One, so I'm enjoying it.
Bless his heart, don't know no better in all caps lock.
You know what? Just because they said that, we're gonna not block them. We're gonna.
What did they say?
Which is different.
Someone was like,
we need to repent.
Repent? Oh, love it.
Listen,
Here's
I got Jesus on my altar right now. Do you want me to tell him that you said hi? Because I promise if you're screaming, what's going to happen is he's going to do the same thing that he did with anybody else who was screaming. Money changers! Going to get your table flipped, baby.
I was calling my mom.
Flipping the tables.
I'm calling my mom. You can't tell me not to tell my mom.
That's my mom. Heard from my own mother. So, nah.
My mom says you can't play with us.
Yeah, we're talking about purity culture because, frankly, I think it's horseshit, especially considering our lady Hildegard von Bingen was actively like advocating for like female fun time. She was like, bullshit, women shouldn't, and I'm like, girl, yeah, and she's a saint, bitch. She's a saint.
Don't forget, and the beloved companion. If Jesus was fully divine and fully human, there's reasons why they opted out of in the Bible to make sure that nobody knew that Jesus had somebody he loved. Kissed her on the mouth. Made Paul jealous.
Okay, honestly, I thought I was going to fight Paul, but Peter, I'm coming after Peter with a steel fucking chair.
Literally.
I'm coming after
him.
And
you start to get into it, like this dude, like this mofo gets a bad rap. Like, he does say some sketch things, but it's really Peter who's like, what?
So Peter made Mary Magdalene cry, and I will get him for that when I get up there. I hope he knows.
He did.
So here's the thing. So I always say one of my favorite Jesus movies, really the only Jesus movie I've seen that does it well, is the Mary Magdalene movie with Joaquin Phoenix and Rooney Mara. The majority of the casting is Jewish and Israeli casting, like very good. They did a good job with it. But it also just does such a good job at showing the tension between Peter and Mary Magdalene, and it just makes you want to throw something at the screen. So watch that.
I'm coming up there with the bat.
Because it's so... Yeah.
But, I gotta look up Teresa of Avila now, because any saint or any person who's gonna advocate for fun time, like, we gotta know.
Yes. We gotta...
It's called Mary Magdalene.
Yeah, right. I feel like this is also a good topic to bring up just with things, happening in the world right now, because I feel like queer topics kind of fall into this as well. with the idea of being gay is a sin or whatever else. And you're seeing a lot of people trying to like abolish transgender people or just saying really hateful things towards the queer community. So I feel like there's a lot that we could all kind of put together with this topic, and I've talked about it before too. So I feel like we have a pretty good hand for discussion tonight, in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I love this question. Why do purity culture exist? And like the
I
short answer is because people are like merchandise.
that
Yeah.
too, but
Because
also
people merchandise.
because people merchandise. But also you have to understand about things 2,000 years ago or in biblical times or whatever. Because whether it was monotheistic cultures or polytheistic cultures, people blamed naturally occurring events on the gods or God if it was monotheistic. That's why in polytheistic cultures there is a god of rivers and gods of storms and god of plague, because every time one of those things happened, the people thought, oh, it must have pissed off the god or God. So if you got pregnant out of wedlock, or if you got an STI with some kind of like infection or whatever, there was no cure for that back then. So if you woke up one day with an itch where the sun don't shine, they were probably just like, oh my God, I've been cursed. I made God upset. I have to write this down and make sure that no one else does it. And then it became doctrine, when really it was just primitive thought that
Oh,
doesn't
and like
apply.
yeah, and like here's the thing. Here's the thing I really want people to understand. This is not special or specific to Abrahamic religion. A lot of people will be like, "Oh, Christianity." And it's like, no, literally every religion had this concept that women should save themselves for their husbands and then be beholden to their husbands. Like that's why actually the story of Thecla is so important when we talk about the acts of Paul and Thecla, because when Paul was saying, "Oh no, you should just stay chaste five ever," that was radical. That was empowering. Like, let's understand that that was empowering at the time, and that's why Thecla, she was stuck at the window like a spider for 3 days, to the point that her fiance freaked out. Accused Paul of witchcraft, got him put in jail for witchcraft, and then, and then her mother had her set to be burned alive for refusing to get married. She was supposed to stay chaste until she got married, and she said, "No, you know what? I don't have to save my body for my husband. I can save it for me. It's mine." So that's why at that time that was really radical. Now, obviously, it's a different story. It's actually the total
Mhm.
opposite, but back then, it had a totally different meaning.
Yeah, I like that a lot. Um, and yeah, I think that's really the most important thing, is to like be able to look at historical and cultural context. Um, and also, a lot of certain laws still apply in like modern day Judaism, but it's not from like a shameful standpoint. So like, I follow like Miss Miriam and Moses and Zipporah and other creators on here who talk about
I
like
love Sephora.
have purity laws in place, despite the toxic context that we put on that word. To them, your body is holy and should only be seen by certain people. And that's, I don't advocate for like purity culture. I don't think any of us waited until marriage or anything like that. But I'm just trying to put better light.
Me? I mean, me who had a baby in high school, I didn't wait till marriage. What are you talking
What?
about?
I'm trying
Dude,
to
I slept my way across the state when I was homeless. We're fine. It's okay. It's understandable.
put a better spin on cultures that still practice waiting until marriage today in 2023 and trying to understand why.
Well, and you know what else? I mean, I am gonna say this. I remember I was thinking this forever ago. It's like, wait a minute, we got it all fucked up, because people are like, oh, you have to wait until marriage, but by marriage they're thinking like a piece of paper and a really overexpensive party. But like, because they're like, oh well, if you're not married, your boyfriend can just leave you. It's like, bitch, they can leave you now while you are married. People leave you all the time,
Yeah.
because marriage is commitment. When you decide you are committed to someone, that is marriage, not the rings, not the ceremony, blah blah blah. When you decide you are committed to someone, that is marriage.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
Altoid
kind of what
10,
it
by the
means. Where
way.
it's like generally the idea is like you want to really have your person first, because back in the day you would get a lot of shit, right? Like if you were even a widow, if you're, because that's why I said people merchandise, your market value was in the goddamn toilet if you like were already had someone or whatever, right? Like they put a lot of stock on that bride price, which is problematic, and no one says that's okay anymore. But that's where a lot of these laws originated. That's the thing. They originated in this time where that was like the social kind of marketplace. So it's messed up. It's fucked up. But like the whole point was just like don't do things that are going to give you a harder chance at settling down and having like a successful, stable life.
And let's not forget, this is ancient Israeli law
Yeah.
in a
Yeah.
culture that no longer exists except to the sect of Hebrews that are like Orthodox, I think. And even then, it's still not quite there.
Yeah.
600 something laws for you to follow, okay? So the only reason why Christianity is available to us is because Jesus came for his people, saw his people were fucking up, and said, what we'll do is we'll just graft you right onto my olive tree, okay? There's a whole parable about it, I think, in Luke. But it is a culture that is not for us. It exists. It is not for us. It was not made for us to be that way. And while these are there, in that culture and that time, if you've read anything that has anything to do with like ancient Middle Eastern culture, yes, incest was a thing. Okay, it was. You married brothers and cousins. You had divine bodily worship. You had all kinds of things, and God is like, to show that you are my people, what we will do is we will put you aside, and you will basically do the exact opposite of what you're seeing. So the purity culture was both cultural context and Israeli law for them, but also to keep disease from spreading, um, and to keep the faith at that time. Okay, they were basically intermarrying, Hebraic to keep the faith special because they got into so much shit for going out and being like, yeah, we're gonna go and we're gonna like with Babylon, we're just gonna go ahead and do it. God's like, no, I told you not Babylon. Don't fuck with those people. Stop it. He finally gave up after a little while, if you notice, like later on down the road, he's finally just like, just stop killing each other. I don't care anymore. Just stop killing each other, please. Like fucking please. But those laws were put in place to show that the people who were rescued from Egypt and as a shining example had laws that kept them aside. Yep. And even in the most like the smallest contextual notions, you saw that women were still important in Hebrew culture. Let's take a look at this for a minute. So while yes, you could be traded and sold as property, you still can. You were still the running. Hello, yes, thank you. You were still the one running the house while your husband or your father did a lot of the business making. And if you read on even, and if you want to take a gander at Proverbs 31, she's the one running the show while he's sitting at the gates of the elders making the laws. She is running the show. She is now running the business. She is doing what she needs to do. So the idea that women are lesser, it's purely a patriarchal, oppressive trope to basically take over a culture that is not theirs. Thanks, white people. And keep doing what they're doing to make sure that you don't have any room to move.
Absolutely. And
I feel like that
think,
whole like aspect of like women really just being like the quote unquote helper, it obviously comes from Genesis 1. But if you look at the actual like Aramaic and Hebrew words that were there, I'm sorry, Hebrew words because it's Old Testament, it doesn't mean helper. It meant something that meant more like equal. And it kind of just meant like assistant, where like one hand washed the other sort of thing. And it wasn't meant to be like, oh, you're under, him and he rules over you sort of thing. That kind of happened after the whole like fall. And that was kind of like the prophecy is that women were going to be viewed as lesser than men if you look at it in Genesis. But does that mean that we're supposed to be lesser than men? No, that's the sin. No. Is that you guys are like, women are being viewed less than men. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, I think actually, like Father Krause said, the worst part of purity culture of American Christians is the relocation of blame to women for men's sin, and like I do think that's a large part of it. It's like, oh, don't cause your brothers to stumble.
Oh
And
my
it's like,
gosh.
here comes Jesus with the, hey, pluck your
Jesus.
eye out, cut your hand off.
There you
But
go.
That's
these
my
men
And the
ain't
other
gonna
point,
do that.
in the Bible.
I was
Go
gonna
ahead.
say, Mimo made a really good point about it being for the Levites, for the priests. Remember, there were like 12 tribes. So
Yeah,
the general laws were there, but the strict, distinct laws that are laid out in Leviticus are for the Levites, yeah.
something else that I wanted to point out was it kind of bouncing off of what you were saying, Mimi, about how like these laws were in place to separate themselves from the rest of society. So the verse where it talks about women should dress modestly, that doesn't have to do with like so that men don't look at you type thing. There was a temple down the street where the women of that temple dressed in a certain way that maybe they dressed a little less and they had like, shiny jewelry and stuff to show
Wasn't
that
that Diana's temple?
they were a part of that temple. So it wasn't necessarily a modesty thing. It was like, hey, we're going to dress like this so that people know that we're not a part of the temple down the street. If you're not a part of the
Right.
temple down the street, then don't dress like you're in the temple down the street.
And you know what else?
Yep.
Actually, and to bring this back to the point I made earlier where every culture had these kinds of problems, like it wasn't just Abrahamic, it was everybody.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the thing. It doesn't matter if you are having a ton of fun times. It doesn't matter if you are having none. If the societal push behind it is viewing women as vehicles of something else or as property, therein lies the problem. Because I think in Babylon, either Babylon or Sumeria, women were actually told to stay in the temple until someone would pay them money to have relations with them, because that was part of the worship of a certain goddess there. So some women who were not as pretty as the others would be there for up to a year. Like they would be stuck in that temple for a year, unable to do anything else. That is just as horrid as being told that you have to basically hide yourself from society.
Yeah.
The idea is still that you do not get to choose yourself. So the idea of purity culture and its total opposite, the root problem is that women aren't treated as people. is the baseline of every culture at the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then, it stems into a lot of experiences with the church. So maybe that's something that we can kind of dive into, like maybe some of our own experiences with purity culture, if we have any. I've told this story a couple times, but the first time, so Kenny is the only person I've ever been with. He's my first boyfriend, first partner ever that I've ever had. So the first time I bring my brand new first ever boyfriend to church with me, the sermon just so happened to be about abstinence. Cricket. Let's just absorb that for a moment. We can laugh at it now because it was almost 6 years ago, but that was bad.
It's like they knew. It's like the priest was like, I see Hannah's with somebody. Today's a great day.
I went to the cool church, quote unquote. My pastor wore board shorts and flip flops and a Star Wars t-shirt.
Oh yeah, that's the cool thing.
Cool church, yeah. Yeah. We're not kicking you out if you're gay. We just don't condone that lifestyle. That church. So
yeah,
that was my entire teenage years, unfortunately.
Are we ready for trauma? Y'all ready for this?
Yeah.
I was raised Pentecostal on my mom's side, preachers and all. I still have an uncle who we're currently not on speaking terms because he thinks that his granddaughter died because it was God's will. And then on my dad's side, Southern Baptist. So, not only at a young age, due to genetics, was I going through puberty at 10 years old and confused, I was taught that it was wrong. That my body was tempting others, including the men, the deacons. One of the deacons came to my dad and said that I was causing him to lust. This is a 60-something-year-old man, and I'm in my floral 90s, the 90s floral church dress. If you know what I'm talking about, you know. There was nothing appealing there. Yeah, okay. So that's first of all. So that's where I get my first thing. I was not allowed to have Ken dolls My brothers were not allowed to have army toys because I would be seeing them in the nude in some way if they took their shirt off. I was not allowed to have anything to do with any kind of suggestive male audience until I was 13. And in that case, I was told that if for any reason that I kissed a boy, I would get pregnant and die. That same old. I was also compared to a piece of gum. That if nobody wants an extra chewed piece of gum,
I've heard that.
okay, nobody likes toothpaste once it's all squeezed out of the tube. Nobody likes reheated dry roast, and I'm like, that was specifically in reference to my genitals. So nobody wants dried out roast. Keep it to yourself to keep it pure and pink. Literally, what my Sunday school teacher told me.
Oh my!
And then,
So sorry.
so the fact that by the time I was interested in dating anyone, I was bisexual. I had no interest in boys because they had been demonized for so long. Even though I had boyfriends, sure, and everybody like revved it up of like, oh my god, this little boy is so cute holding your hand. It's so wonderful. It's so look at that. You're gonna have so many babies, and I'm like, yeah, but you guys don't know that what happened last Sunday in between the sermon and the Sunday school. The preacher's daughter and I decided to have a lot of fun in the baptismal pool when the curtains were closed.
Oh my god.
I got talked to a lot with a bunch of deacons and pastors because if I wasn't causing people to lust, I was inappropriate towards people, and I'm like, nah, whatever. And it came to the point where I had internalized it for so long. And it's something I'm working through with my therapist. It's something that I'm working through with Mary Magdalene. That when I get super depressed and like down in the dumps about myself, I only view myself for what my vagina is worth. And that is not a fair way to live. And it's not a good mindset to have. And it is directly because of purity culture that I only see my worth and what my vagina can give my husband. It's awful.
Which is like, it reminds me of like something the fucking Pope said once, where he was just like, "Oh, the genius of women is in her womb," and I was like, "Not in her brain."
Right?
And like this is why, like, I don't know, people are like, "Oh, the Pope is like the voice of like the I don't know, the mouthpiece of God." So, and I'm like, "Fuck the Pope." How about that? The Pope, will fight him any fucking day.
Yeah.
Okay? He's
Like,
got to prove that he's worth it.
Mm-hmm.
not fun. So like so not only do I get the trauma of like being the woman, but being a queer woman is like,
Same.
no. Like for some, and then trying to find like an open church where it's like, we love you if you're gay. I'm like, well, what if you're bisexual? You're just horny.
What?
Like, there's so much.
Oh,
Yeah,
just right up here, like, yeah, totes.
yeah, and there's a lot of bi erasure even in the church. You think it's bad in some of the queer circles. It's really bad in the church because they're like, oh, bisexual just means that you're being tempted by both sides. You're just following sin. You're following lust. And I'm like, all right, okay, that makes zero sense. Why is this okay? It's so it's so frustrating. So like what I'm doing to heal
Baby
that,
steps with them.
yeah, what I'm doing to heal that right now is that I am teaching my girls that their bodies are safe because they're here. It's theirs. No one can take that away from them. That is their body.
Yep.
And that is, whatever. And it's a beautiful body. And whatever they want to do with it. We're currently doing some struggles right now with my oldest who is trying to figure out what her sexuality is. And I said, sweetheart, you can take your lifetime to figure it out.
Yep.
I don't care. I still love you.
Yep.
Whatever you want to be, so long as you're not murdering people, I don't care. And even then, I'll still write you letters in prison.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
That's a good mom.
Support there.
So,
yeah,
purity culture's stupid.
Pretty much.
I'm like very, very lucky that I grew up like Catholic. Like my mom and my dad, they were both Catholic. My dad like secular Catholic, if that makes sense, where he grew up when he went to Catholic school, but then like, nah. My mom just like, oh, tradition, and otherwise like didn't give a good goddamn. I was lucky that my parents, like every other fucking parent that I grew up with, was like, I know what we did as kids, so you're not gonna do it. And my parents were like, I know what we did as kids. I'd be fucking stupid if I thought you weren't gonna do it. So they were like, just if you're gonna drink at 15, just make sure you sleep over your friend's house, like, that kind of shit. So I was like,
Yeah, my liquor
okay.
cabinet is here. You don't leave if you're drinking. Thanks.
Yep.
So for me, it was always just like, my mom had a thing where she was just like age wise, she was like, listen, like, there is like such a thing as too young, and that was fair. But like, otherwise, it wasn't about you're dirty, you're shameful. It was just literally like, you are too young.
Yeah.
you know.
That's valid, absolutely. But as long as you're teaching kids to, I feel like it's like a forbidden fruit thing. If you tell them that you shouldn't do it, then that's gonna make them want to do it more. And I know because that was me. Like, with the expectation of marriage just made me want to not wait for marriage that much more. I had decided by like as soon as I hit puberty, it was like, oh, it's okay. As soon as I am in a position to be able to do this reasonably, there ain't no ring coming. Like, I don't want to get married until I'm like 30, but I don't want to wait till I'm 30. So, okay, I guess this is where my life is,
Yeah. See, I was different. I literally was like, I'm going to wait until marriage. And then, and I like growing up, like my husband really was my only boyfriend or like person ever kind of thing. So I always thought I was going to wait till marriage. Like, I went through a really like ugly girl phase or like awkward phase or whatever. I guess I really wasn't that, looking back on it, I really wasn't that bad looking. But then I came out on the other side of that at like 17. And I was like, you know what? I'm cute. I should do something with somebody.
You know what?
Yes. Beautiful.
Never mind. So, I met my husband and, we had our baby before our year anniversary almost kind of thing. No, he was a couple of months after our year anniversary, so we weren't that bad. But anyway, I didn't really have that much problems with purity culture because my parents weren't like, like Sarah, I grew up Catholic and my parents were just like, cool. My mom's like, I knew, what we did as kids, like sort of thing, and like whatever. But I more got it when I got into the cult because, my husband, and I've been very open about this, he's not like a Christian. He never has been a Christian. I mean, like now he's like, yeah, Jesus is like real kind of thing. There's a creator, but he's not like into the Abrahamic. For him, like more like Norse things are appealing, and like he really like vibes with astrology and reincarnation. So he's very different. But at the time, he was like pretty much like an atheist sort of thing. So when I was in the church, there was that whole verse about you can't be unequally yoked. And like, I was tortured with this verse, like to the point where it was like, I had just found out I was pregnant with my second baby. And my mentor was telling me how I settled with my first baby and gave him a non-Christian dad. And now I'm doing that.
Ew.
Oh my.
And like, it was really, really weird. And I was like, there's all these verses about like what God brings together, two things God brings together, like man can't separate, but just because, he's not a Christian, like last I checked, you can't take Dexter, you can't take Scott and take my DNA out of him and then, Jack's DNA out of him and create two separate people. Like, that's not how it works. Like, God brought them together, us together to make those two, right? So now we can't separate. So then why can't our relationship be like the same thing, if that makes sense? So, because that's really how I viewed it at the time. And I mean, like, I still do, sort of thing. And, so that was really like my main thing with the church. But then, the one place I kind of, the one person I wanted to point out, in case anybody else is like in that position where you're in a minute,
she's starting to get into
adult relationship. It says, it was written by my man Paul, 1 Corinthians 7:12, which is like, which says, but to rest, I say not, the Lord, that if any brother has a wife who is an unbeliever and she consents to live with him, do not let him send her away. And if a woman who has an unbelieving husband and he consents to live with her, do not let her send him away. For the unbelieving husband is made pure through his wife, and the unbelieving wife is made pure through her believing husband. And then that's basically it. Like, your belief makes the other one holy, sort of thing. Yeah. So
that was Paul.
Yeah, that was
my
Paul.
Boy.
That's why I like Paul.
Okay. All right. right, I'm starting to fuck with Paul a little bit.
Not bad. Okay.
Listen, the more horrifying things he wrote, he's like, I don't know why the church took that and ran.
I'm like scandalized because I didn't realize how many things were attributed to him that he never fucking wrote. Like all of Timothy, I'm like real mad about it. I'm just like, are you joking? I've been sitting here like raging against Paul when he didn't even say half the shit.
Yeah.
They took so much of the context of what he was saying and decided to add their own to it because
Yeah.
it's and everybody's like, oh, it's a giant game of telephone, and in many cases, yeah, it is. Could you imagine trying to write in like 8 different languages and then having everything translate to English, one of the worst fucking languages?
Yeah.
Mhm.
I try to not hold too many grudges, many biblical figures anymore because like the whole he said, she said. But that's just even more reason to not take a lot of the spiritual seriously. The whole Bible is he said, she said. We don't know
Yeah.
what was actually going on 2000.
Like the lotion, Blueberry.
We weren't there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, we don't know what actually happened because we weren't there. We don't know like the actual intention like of these words, and a lot of them were written to be in a very specific cultural context and through a very specific cultural lens. And that's like something you guys had touched on before, but that's like really important to just like keep reminding yourself. Because, like, even the verses, you know, where Paul writes about women not speaking in church, that was written to a very specific church where the women were not letting anybody else speak. Like they were just screaming at people. Yeah.
And the other context of that was they weren't taking them in. They were talking over each other, just like that. No, she wants my Florida water. Sorry, she's a spicy baby. They weren't giving a chance to like sit down and learn, and it was a matter of learn what we're talking about and absolutely come have a conversation. We want you to join the conversation instead of screaming over me while I'm trying to teach you so you can talk about it overall. Like that was the biggest part of it. It was that they were talking over each other, trying to prove who was right instead of taking the time to learn. So basically they were pulling a Congress and they weren't letting anybody else do their job.
Yeah, which is like obviously for
Corinth, fucking Florida water,
because that must have been annoying as hell. And also,
I just want to like mention if anybody wants to learn more about like Paul and like his like context, this book Paul Amongst the People. I haven't read this in a hot like 5 years, so it could not be the best information now. But this was one of the first books that helped me deconstruct. And there's a whole chapter on like, you know, basically like purity laws and like specifically like homosexuality and like what that meant, where he was like, where it says like, their women exchange natural desires for unnatural. And then, it goes on to break it down being like Paul, condemns this because these are homosexual acts that are being committed by apparently heterosexual people. They're basically forcing themselves to have these unnatural desires to fulfill rituals. So this is a really decent, piece of book.
And also, a lot of it was a power play. That's why like Romans had like, the other servant boys that were like, even if they weren't actually young, they would shave to look like young boys because it was a sign of power. It was actively a power move, like to dominate another man that way. That's why that was such a bad thing, because it was literally like a flagrant abuse of power. And that's why Graphia is intentionally. With walking Paul's position back. I'm going to say something that's going to be controversial, but a lot of modern Christianity, after it became absorbed into the Roman Empire, is literally just a rebrand of Roman socio-political structure. Like, the actual message of Jesus was balled up and tossed out the door, and they just rebranded, like, the same Roman shit that Rome was already doing for literally centuries.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole purpose of the Council of Nicaea.
Yeah,
that was literally.
How can we make this look good so we can?
Controversial opinion, Sarah. That's like a fact.
Yeah.
Yeah, but people are going to be like, "Oh, it's Christianity's problem." And I'm like, "No. I don't think you guys understand. Rome literally picked it up and was like, "Oh, cool. Check out this new hammer I found to fuck up all my enemies again."
Yeah, that's like that saying goes: all roads lead to Rome. So all the problems lead to Rome. Never mind, that was me.
Everything is Rome's fault.
Sarah and I could vibe with that as like Catholics. We get
But it was.
I'm saying.
Everything that's wrong now is Reagan's fault. Everything that was wrong back then is Rome's fault. That's what we're gonna go with.
Rome, Reagan, it's the R names. It's all the R.
It is. It is.
So I will say the idea of like purity culture is just like it's unnecessary, and like someone really wants to save themselves from marriage, like that's what you want, and no one else is forcing you. Then God, by all means, that's your life. Like, don't let us to do. But the forcing it upon the people and shaming women for natural feelings and desires stems from so much unnecessary BS. And I feel like so many people have dealt with it in really just awful and traumatizing ways.
Yeah. Ultimately, it's a very like intimate topic to be talking about. So it's like just traumatic in nature, like to have, unsavory things be told to you about your body.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is, like, again, there was a very specific context for purity culture, which was that women's market marital value depended on whether or not they were, fresh or not. I don't know how to say this without TikTok like banning me, but so that's kind of what it was. But now that doesn't exist. So this is why it is so traumatizing, because we keep trying to apply this thing that no longer applies. We keep trying to make excuses for why we should keep doing what no longer holds the same necessity. Like, these laws were there to protect people from ending up like homeless without any support, without anything like that, and that's not the case anymore. Like, it just isn't.
Yeah, it was a cultural product of the times.
Yep. I also want to mention
God just likes, he doesn't like cooties, I think, honestly. I think God's just a cootie guy. He's like, ew, you're gross, and that's cooties, but like, that's a separate thing.
It's germs.
I want to mention that so again, I like a lot of my deconstruction from back in the day because I have been trying to fight the church since like 1997, since I was a kid and being precocious and an asshole. And I watched the movie Dogma. If you haven't seen it, you really need to. But Selma Hayek's character says that the truth was written by the people who held the pen, and the pen holders were men, and therefore women were painted as bigger antagonists than the Romans and the Egyptians combined.
Yep.
And that is why we have a lot of the issues that we have, because the people who were in charge of writing and saying what goes in and what doesn't were misogynistic, patriarchal assholes, basically. And it wasn't just about, who played telephone. It was also about how can we make this, like you said, or how can we take this big hammer and destroy our enemies? And if we can get into all these cultures that are matriarch, and we can show them, oh, your women are actually evil. Look, God says they're evil. It's just easier to conquer them. A lot of other, if you want to stay in power, you're going to convert to Christianity.
Yeah.
And Christianity says, this is what I say it says. And if you look at it, like, it doesn't just stop at Rome. Like, Rome invaded Britain, for fuck's sake, and look what it did to that pagan culture. And that spread all through. Okay, I'm going to go on a tangent. But that's where it breaks down. Is that basically the men who held it are the ones of power, and they were threatening, if you want to keep that power, you're going to do what we say. And so now women went from being these embodiment of, like, beautiful pillars in their community to pieces of, more property.
Mm-hmm.
All through Europe. All through fucking Europe. Rome got fucking happy.
Well, and the divine feminine was always.
Why are you under my bed? Come here!
Of paganism, and argue that it was even a part of early Christianity.
No, ma'am.
You see so many people that turn to witch paganism in modern times, looking to things like glamour, that because bringing, but it's also really too when you look at characters like Mary Magdalene or any of the other badass women in the Bible, or Asherah or Sophia, and like you can tap into the divine feminine and glamour and beauty and sexuality, like all of that was already there. It's just stupid humans took it away. But once you're able to find it within yourself to tap back into it, it can be so fulfilling if you give it a chance.
And violence too.
Yeah.
That's part of my that's part of my divine feminine project this month. I'm tasked with talking about women in the Bible, and I'm like, we're talking about jail, we're talking about tet spike meat head, we're talking about it. Like,
Oh yeah.
you know what? And this is okay.
Yeah.
This is like a separate topic, but I'm always like annoyed because men like make these stupid rules about war, where everyone's gonna die and things are gonna be bad. But they're like, no, no, no. We have to put our special legion on the special field, and we gotta throw them at each other. No, women are like, I'm gonna poison you when you're least expecting it. Settle this quietly, because I don't got the goddamn time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This war. Oh no, 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 no.
There
I'm
wouldn't
gonna
be
give you
wars
warm
if
milk,
like
back rubs, tent spike.
there wouldn't be wars if women ran the world, because we would just get our shit done behind the scenes. That's just...
Yeah.
Like, it would be quiet.
I also feel like
But
the
men
story
gotta
of
make a big
Lilith
show.
changes all the time.
Yeah, that's another.
She's more of a modern. I feel like with especially her with the Abrahamic. Obviously, she has like her roots within Judaism and within the like Jewish lore. But I feel like she's more of like a modern day allegory where like people have taken this like story and kind of morphed it into something that resonates for us today. And it's very similar to what people have done with Medusa. But in a more Abrahamic lens. And that's why I really don't think that there's anything wrong with like Lilith worship or anything. She's just like a deity that, morphed itself the way that Medusa did. Because do we really think that like Medusa was an empowering figure in ancient Greece? Like, do we really think that? Like, if you really like do some soul searching, right? But today she is, and that's like awesome. And I'm not knocking anybody. I actually really love the modern day lore behind Medusa. I think it's absolutely badass.
I'm trying to eat her cheese stick.
Of a female character into something that's empowering, the same way that we have done with Lilith. So that's my little Lilith rant.
We can call it successful rebranding, I think.
Yes.
What?
Lilith had a more successful rebranding? Is that what you
Yep.
said?
I definitely think Lilith had successful rebranding. She's just like, you know what? I'm tired of being the demon all the time.
No, yeah. And she's definitely she's personally my purity culture deity. I always keep her candle around if I talk about. I mean, right now it's too far down that I can't light it, so I have like a little black candle in front of it, which is why I can put my fingers in here. So nobody say I'm being dangerous, but yeah, she's the purity culture deity.
Yeah.
Hundo P.
Lots of just like badass women biblical figures to look to, like looking at like the story of Esther, which I know is like the one that you think of, or like Deborah, like those are the ones that you think of in the Bible.
Esther is relevant because it's Purim.
Yeah.
Yes. But also I made a deity candle. Someone works with the spirit of Eve, like as part of their spirit.
Ooh.
So many possibilities to be had.
Okay, this is kind of like barely related, but if you guys have seen that anime, what is it? Something about Ragnarok. There's a whole anime about like humans and gods fighting in the ring, and the episode it was Zeus versus Adam, and they retconned Adam's story so that like the snake like tried to basically like essay Eve, and Adam saved her, and then they like pinned it on her. They're like, oh, like the snake like totally spun it, and they made her look like the bad guy. So Adam like walked in with a basket full of the apples of the tree of knowledge, took one bite out of all of them, threw them out, and was like, Eve, we're leaving. And they just like dipped, and they just said F you to the gods, basically. And I was like,
interesting.
That is an amazing retcon.
I like that.
Interesting.
There is a book called The Book of Lilith by Robert something. I always forget his last name. The Book of Lilith by Robert something. It is technically a work of fiction, but I almost view it as like a UPG for her story, because to me it explains how you can love God and love Lilith at the same time. There's lots of explanations.
Child, what did you do to the cheese stick?
But I found that book at a time when that was my like question in life, like how can I work with God and work with Lilith at the same time? And then I found that book, and it just explained Lilith's story in such a better way that was like So if anyone is confused or wants
not the hair
Lilith UPG lore, the book by Robert something.
Watching Mimi have a whole moment.
Rabbit
in the
rap.
background.
This is so related. I literally like sent one of my friends Mimi. I'll send it to you when we get off of this. But it was a TikTok of like somebody, you know, trying to get their kid a piece of cheese, and the kid wanted a whole piece of cheese, and the little corner was breaking off every time she was trying to get a piece of cheese out, and she was like, "I'm gonna have a nervous breakdown over this cheese."
Yeah.
It's relatable.
Yeah, she's 18 months old, and one of her favorite snacks is cheese sticks. But this time, because she is angry that she is not getting her snuggle time, um, and that mom had to leave to go get taco shells because we were out of taco shells for Taco Tuesday. How dare I? She broke it off into little bitty smushed drooly pieces and wedged them into my original oak floors, and like just pushed it into it, and then she got it all in her hair because she angry. This is my Leo baby.
Yeah.
This is my Leo Aries something. I don't remember what her ascending is, but you can tell she is a Leo Aries baby. She is mostly fire in her chart, and you can tell.
See, this is the kind of thing where it's like, if I ever had a baby and it wasn't coming at a very specific time, I would just be like, no, we're not actually having a baby.
Pregnancy based on the astrology.
Yeah, if I have a third baby, that is 100% what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I want an Aquarius
We're
or a
calculating
Pisces,
this.
but it has to have the Pluto in Aquarius, so we gotta wait a lot longer. I'm still traumatized by myself.
Isn't it like 6 more years until the Pluto is
Pluto's in
Oh,
Aquarius in like 3 weeks, Mimi.
yo, I fucked up.
I've been on this. I've been on this shit since I was literally 16, so I don't even know if I can have kids at this point. I don't really care to find out.
I also have
Luna, you an angry person.
I still have endometriosis.
No, the Luna.
I will find out in however many years when I, decide to stop taking the special medicine.
Yeah, that's why I was like, you know what? I'll let God figure that out because I don't want to think about it.
Yeah.
So
No.
I wasn't supposed to be able to have children. So I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. I mentioned that before. But also, when I was 16, I had cervical cancer. And like half of my cervix is gone. So they're like, you can't really carry children. If you do get pregnant, you're not going to be able to carry them. Da da da. You're going to have a lot of issues. Stuff stuff. So I have 4 children. I have 4 living children. I have 3 angels, and I honestly, every single one of my children, every single one of them, we have done everything we can to make sure we do not have children, and we still have children. So explain to me the divine timing of having all these fire signs and all these water signs as children.
I do not.
No.
Like,
yeah, but no, we don't claim this.
I will say this, it has been humbling, and it has definitely made me look at what purity culture was. It has made me reflect on, am I ready to have that kind of conversation, especially in the society that we have right now? How am I going to be able to protect my children right now? And how am I going to be able to educate them to move forward? As a homeschooler, it is my duty to make sure that not only are they prepared, but they're able to love themselves for who they are. So that's like my biggest thing right now, aside from teaching times tables. So I'm like, it's okay. The tips that I will say is if you are not ready to sacrifice time, sleep, and your ego, do not have children.
Yeah.
If you can't sacrifice your ego, don't have kids.
Well, that's, I think, like, honestly, like, I don't think that there's ever, as somebody who had their kids when they were really, 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 really not ready for a child, like, my son, like, genuinely, like, saved my life. Like, I would not be here today if I did not have my first baby.
How did you get my shoe?
It's actually funny because my mom and I were talking about it the other day, and before I had him, and before I, like, and, like, I got to give credit where credit's due. The church gets a little bit of credit here. My cult, before I, like, had him and I started focusing more on, like, having a relationship with God, I was really going on a very dark path. And I really don't think that there's ever that point where you think that you're going to be ready. But my just biggest advice for somebody who's thinking about having kids is don't have it to solve a problem. Your kids will never solve
that's another one.
That's it. I mean, I don't think that you're going to ever be 100% ready mentally, physically, financially, lack of sleep-wise. Nobody's ever prepared for the whirlwind that parenthood is. And no matter how much preparation you could do, you're never going to be ready for that. But if you're having a child as like a means to an end, that's not it. That's the only thing that I think is like a full stop,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was me too. Like, I've gained back 50 pounds postpartum. I've gained it back. This is my fourth nursed child, and I've gained all of my weight back. And they're just like, we don't know what it is. I'm just like, all right, let's find some more pants to fit while we figure it out. But again, that is another part of this purity culture because do you know how many boss babes are in the fucking cult church right now? Pushing being skinny, pushing being happy, pushing
Holy
all these little things for the body image you have. Jesus fucking Christ. Do you know how shitty, how much shit I got in my mom group? So there's a program called MOPS, Mothers of Preschoolers. It is
I
Jesus
hate
based, but you do
moms.
not have to, be part of the church to go. And when I tell you that every time it was like bring food, so I'm bringing like scrambled egg bake, I'm bringing bagels, I'm bringing all this good food, right? Nourishing food, not like overly, ridiculous, but like I'm bringing good, nourishing food. And these women are bringing like cucumber sandwiches and like little diet foods. And I'm going up there with like a full ass fucking plate of food because I haven't eaten yet and I've had 3 coffees. I'm hungry. And they're all just like, how are you today? I'm fucking starving. Leave me alone, Susan. Like, why is our bodies who are supposed to be praised and wonderful, worship, or not worship, but like praised and fuck it, I worship my body. Praised and worship for all these things. And yet we're given such shame in the church, even by the women who are supposed to be like upholding with us. What the fuck? I'm angry. Like,
Well, no,
I
again,
hate
I think
it.
it comes back to, I think it's back to that idea that we did not let go of for some reason, that women are supposed to be like cute little toys that the men get to buy for the price of, I don't know, the price of admission, the price of faith, the price of something or other. Church membership, you get a free state mandated or church mandated girlfriend, I guess.
Oh my
So,
god. Oh my god. Yeah. Oh my
they'd be
god.
acting like you're part of the church mandated girlfriend. Here you go, we distribute them. It's like socialism for like churchmen sex. It's
The
really
way
bad.
that
So
unlocked a memory. Like in my church, they would
Or,
like called like what are they called?
10 go.
Encouragement dates, and you're not allowed
yeah,
to say no. No matter the
yeah.
circumstance, you're not allowed to say no. Okay.
What?
So at one point,
Or the,
me,
I'm sorry.
a 21-year-old mother, was forced to go on a date with an 18-year-old. I was like, bro, they're like, it's only 3 years. And I'm like, because, unequally yoked shit. Wanted to get a Christian husband. You know?
No.
But yes,
And then,
we talked about nothing. This dude like baseball. He was from a whole other country too, which didn't help. Not saying, that's like whatever, but it just didn't help. It was only rivaled the time that they forced me to go like another one of these like, you can't be unequally yoked, go on an encouragement date. Like you can't say no. Thing with this kid. Charlie's like, I remember
Isn't it literally adultery though?
Yeah, but
yeah, kinda.
Like
his name, I could say it because it's a famous name. His name was Michael Scott, and he had a tattoo of himself on his arm, dead ass himself on his arm. And they forced me to go on an encouragement date with him. He made me wait in the middle of New York City for like 2.5 hours. He was so late. After that, I was like, hey guys, I'm not dating. I'm done.
Yeah.
Do not do this to me again. If you do this to me again, I'm throwing hands. And it was, yep.
But like you were already married at the time, yes?
No, we weren't technically married at the time.
But
we
like,
just
you were
had
in
a baby.
Relationship.
Yeah, pretty much.
Or like, what about when you go to the Bible colleges and you're like, I got my MRS? No, that's not a thing, honey. To finish your degree. You're not here to get your MRS. Like, please stop it. And that's basically, as a woman, you go to but the stereotype is that you go to college to get a husband, dead ass, so that you can be a preacher's wife or a youth pastor's wife. Yeah, that's right. That's the thing. There was a Bible college down, like the next exit down from my house when I lived in Louisville, there was a Bible college. And that was something I'd hear all the time because I worked at one of the gas stations and I just hear this, oh my gosh, I can't wait for my ring by spring. I hope that it's going to be Toby. And I'm like, dead ass, who marries Toby? Like, who marries a Toby?
Toby's a great name for like a dog.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Or like a fish. I would name a fish Toby.
No, I can't. I have no room to judge because my son is named Dexter, and for the year that I had my son Dexter, that was the #1 dog name. So, no.
Okay, that's not terrible.
Well, I feel like that's another thing with like going to Bible college and getting married. I feel like you see so many Christians getting married so quick and so young because they think that that's the only way to get laid, and so they're like,
all, yeah.
Okay, shotgun wedding,
No,
boom, and
listen.
then
Oh my god, I had a friend who was
Yeah.
like trying to wait for marriage. Like I don't know, they randomly just decided to convert, and they were like, we're just gonna wait until marriage, and even though they had already done it, but we're just gonna wait until marriage anyway. It was my own mom grilling her like, why? So, but all that aside, you know, in these groups where it's like, oh, you know, I want to stay until marriage, but like, any advice? And all the girls were just like, just get married now. And it's like, that's not a solution. Don't just get
No,
married
thank
to
you.
some dude.
no,
You know, there was a quote once, the way God works, right? I asked God for a bicycle, but I knew that's not how he works, so I stole one and I asked forgiveness instead.
Yep, that's a good
Just
one.
bang somebody and then say, whoops, sorry. Like, at this point, it's better than getting married and ruining your life like that. God damn.
There's okay. So funny joke, kind of. My husband was raised Catholic. He got confirmed and left the church because he's like, I don't need to pay to be part of somebody's book club. Good for him. And then I sat down with him and I was like, all right, honey, like if anything were to ever happen, what are like your 3 rules? This was before we got married. What are your 3 rules to never ever get back together and no matter how many kids we have, what are your 3 things? And we discussed each other's. And I was like, so other than that, no divorce. And he goes, do you know how expensive divorce is? Do you know how expensive it is? Like, it is so cheap to run to a church and get $35 to get married to you, have babies, but to get divorced, like, I'd rather just stay married to you. Like, honestly.
Oh my god.
He's like, I'll build a room in the basement and we can be roommates. Just don't make me get divorced.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
No, I told my I personally don't believe for me personally, unless there's like a really extenuating circumstance, like a super extenuating circumstance, I do not believe in divorce for me personally.
Yeah.
But that's because I'm a
Same.
7th house Taurus, okay?
Yeah.
Commitment for life. So
Also,
Oh, no,
side note, and I think it's because I have someone that's Pisces in my chart, but it's because I don't believe that, I personally do not believe that one person is who you're meant to be with your whole life. You have people who come and go who are supposed to teach you lessons of how to love and things like that. If it's this life, it's the next life, whatever. Not necessarily get married 7 times, but have these deep, meaningful relationships that you can grow from, you know? And then, like, marriage is if you're ready for that, financial long haul. Are you ready for, like, having the tax returns? Are you ready for those fights of who's going to sleep on the couch? Then go ahead. But I am very polyromantic, as it were, because I believe that if somebody can have an emotional connection to you, guess what? You're in a relationship, whether it's a sexual relationship, a friend relationship, or whatever relationship, good for you. You're building these relationships, and it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. But I better be the fucking favorite.
yeah,
that is
I better be the favorite. Oh no, my Taurus is showing. Like,
that's another.
no, my Leo's showing. My Leo's showing. I better be the fucking favorite. That's what Leo's showing. I better be the fucking favorite.
Pisces. The second part was straight up Leo. Like,
Yeah.
I can see that. Well, I guess that's another thing is like the idea of like most kind of blurred, especially with how marriage worked back then when these verses were written, but also even getting into like Europe and like the European translations of the Bible. Like Kenny and I are technically common law married.
yeah.
But like
Yeah.
Yeah, same with Roman and I.
would the church recognize that as probably not?
Not today.
The whole verse about you have to follow the rules of your government. But then Jesus was like, government? It's just like
That's why I'm saying. That's why I'm saying
Oh.
marriage. Like you don't magically gain commitment with a marriage ceremony.
No.
Commitment
No.
is marriage. Like when you decide to commit, that is a marriage. It doesn't matter who recognizes it. Like I've literally looked God in the face and been like, "This is my person. Please take note." And so like this, I'm not. There's no divorce for me and Roman. Mostly because I look at the options available today, and I would rather grow moss in a pond But also beyond that, like I would rather become rock in a pond with moss than date some of these people out here today. But beyond
Yeah.
that, this is my guy. Like he matches me. We know what we want. We're compatible. Like this is my guy. So like I have my guy. My Virgo ass has that checked off her list. It's done.
Yeah.
We're moving on.
Like there's so many covenants that are done in the Bible between just two people verbally. Like look at David and Jonathan. And that's
Again, beautiful relationship. Yeah.
That's a beautiful relationship. But that verse that everybody wants to know about where he
And
says
they were roommates.
your love to me was greater than only a woman is 2 Samuel 1:26. By the way,
Right?
if I could get tattoos, I would get that tattooed on me. But I'm allergic, so I can't get tattooed. That's not like a religion thing. It's a chronically ill thing. Yeah.
Yep. And then, so another really fun part. This is the witchy part. You ready for this one? So I didn't do any of the astrology things to check on us, but, like the astromancy, the cartomancy part, like his family and everything being where it is where my spirit is supposed to be for like growth and prosperity and just like contentment and peace, which is really fucking cool. But also like my Venus is his moon, and that's how he
that's a
speaks
aspect.
his right. So I'm just like, oh, cool. What the fuck? Now the other aspect is okay. So if you're ready for all of that, if you're ready for the commitment, there is nothing saying that you have to repeat what's there in the, like, whatever the guy is saying for your rules. If you have vows, you can always make a binding spell to break later with a cord cutting if you really need to. I'm just saying, make it way easier for everybody.
In a wedding ceremony.
There's so much magic potential. There's so much magic there. Anything. Look, everybody's so creative. Everything is a spell. Like,
God. I mean, technically, aren't wedding vows like spells anyway? Like they are binding.
That's
spells
anyway. Kind of. So like,
yeah, I would say they are. Especially if you have anything like, especially like with your rings, the symbols of your, bond to each other. That's another one.
That's seriously.
As witches, we gotta talk about this. Everyone's like, oh, I want my diamond ring. And I'm sitting here and I'm like, get me a fucking opal. Get me a fucking onyx. Get me some special
You don't
stone
want an opal, Sarah. That shit'll break in a minute. I had
it. Yeah, I know, but like, I like the pretty, like, you know what I mean? It's like for wishes, it's like the ring can't just be like a diamond. It has to be a stone that has function. It has to.
I don't even have a stone. I have just signs. I have a moon with the Taurus for me and a sun with the Gemini for him.
Every time
and I
the super
favorite thing of my
super cute thing he did. Every time we had a child, I got a new ring. So let me go get my rings for 1 second.
Damn. All right. That's
he would quote unquote get me an upgraded ring. So, oh, honey, somebody was behind me and Mama's big old butt knocked her over. I'm sorry, baby. Gracious. I apologize.
That's what happens.
I apologize. Oh, angry baby. She made.
She just muted herself. She got so mad. Oh my god.
Okay, I gotta say this quietly because my walls are thin, but my neighbors have these fucking kids, and I'm like, this is why witches eat people. Because if I hear these fucking kids through my wall more fucking time.
Yeah, my upstairs neighbors have like a kid, and I can hear it crying like upstairs all the time while I'm trying to work, and I am just trying to live a life of peace. But also, this whole thing with the cat has really just been like, how am I ever gonna have a child?
God, the cat.
Like,
Animals is my limit.
Yeah.
No, their children are just, oh my gosh. And I'm crazy.
Dude, they are. They're hip level. You just bonk them right over. Jesus.
Yep.
Drives me nuts.
Yeah, that's literally what you got. Even with my children in my own house, like if they really are, they're because they have the tablets, they have their voices that are piercing, and they scream, and they have the trucks that make the and it's like whatever. So I just put my hand in, I box my music, and it's like they're like they're like fighting, and all I hear is I think he knows, and I'm like, okay, cool, this is good. Like I'm just getting me through this. It's good.
Like,
so the very first ring he got for me was a moonstone. It was this little rinky-dink moonstone ring he said he found at a pawn shop. That's what we had the money for. So I don't even think it's real, but you know what? It's real to me, damn it.
Yeah.
And then that was when we got engaged, and then after we got married, we upgraded it. And unfortunately, we still didn't have a lot of money because we broke ass people. But then we got like the actual ring set here for when we had Maggie and upgraded and everything. It was because he felt bad about just the one moonstone. So he's like, you need like a proper ring set and da-da-da. I was like, the fuck I do. But then this one, this is actually one of those the non-blood diamonds that they were advertising for a few years back there when it was a big fuss. It was like,
The lab made ones?
yeah, the lab made ones. So it's one of those. But then all under here, these are all, I can't even see it, the yellow. And then it's got a sunflower right there. So
Oh,
it's got, and sunflowers are my favorite. So like this is like the band that I wear. And then and then again after I had Brenda. So before I had her, when I was pregnant with her, this is the one he got me to. And then afterwards, and I can't find it now, he bought me a silicone ring because I was tired of whacking my kids in the face with a ring. So he bought me one that was like indestructible.
Oh my god.
Here, you know what? I love you. Why don't you play with the pendulum? Come here. Come here.
Which toys?
These are her favorites.
See,
These are her favorites. Don't judge me.
this is how I know I can't be a parent though, because maybe for some parents, like they're like, "Oh no, my baby's crying." But when I hear children do anything, I'm like, "Why? Why are you existing near me right now? Like
Yeah.
this is I can't."
Well, she can't have the one that I've actually got like blessed with holy oil, but she can have the quartz one.
Yep.
But
Well,
my boyfriend like doesn't want kids, and I was like, oh, maybe just one. But every time a child is near me, I'm like, no. And Roman's like, see, you see what I mean? I'm like, okay, fair.
yeah. Well, I have like significantly younger siblings. Like my younger sister is 8 and my younger brother is 11. And I like played a part in like raising them. But with that comes the ability to just tune it out. So like if there's like a screaming child in Walmart, and you'll be like overstimulated and I'm like, oh, I can just kind of find out.
You learn how to ignore it after a while.
No, you can't eat the quartz. She tried to kill herself today. You can't chew on the quartz. I thought she would chew on like the chain like she usually does. She's trying to chew on the quartz. I'm like, you're gonna die. Silica poison. Stop it.
Mm-mm.
No.
Oh god.
No, we don't do that. Here you go. How about mommy's bangle? Ooh, a pretty shiny. I will even give you.
Desire for children.
I
Way too
have
much anxiety to try
everything.
and keep a person alive for 18 years now. Can't do that.
Yeah. How do you?
Once they get to like 5 and they can properly tell you, with the exception of Maggie because she's autistic and she just learned to talk last year, they can pretty much tell you when they need something. So like as long as you give them love and like patience and hold space for them, like they'll tell you if they need to eat or they'll tell you if they're not hungry.
No, I sound like, like for me personally, I really liked the baby. My first kid, I really liked to like 2.5, 3, and then like 3.5, 4, 5, 6, and then like like a little bit of 7 was really challenging for me. But now I'm starting to like even it out. But with my second baby, it's just all been hard. So, and he's gonna be 4 this year. So he's my chaos Virgo.
7, like
child-free, like scroll that. No.
After like it's like every 3 years there's like a huge emotional change. So like 3, and then again at 6, and then 9, and then 12, and then 15, and then 18. Those are like their big emotional hurdles. So like I feel like after they get over the 6 hump and they start becoming like their own person, and you see that personality come out, they get annoying. They get really. You're just like.
Once
you have to
my
speak?
First son was able to start like being sarcastic with me and like like that was where I'm like, okay, maybe I'll get through this. I'll be okay.
Yeah.
I think kids don't understand irony, so like they mimic stuff that they hear, and you're just sitting there looking at them like,
you can't have the selenite either.
But like they don't get it. They don't realize that they're being cringe. So that's why if I get to that stage with a kid, I'll be like, oh.
That's where but that's like when you get an 11-year-old.
Here, have this one.
Cringy, and you could just like make the stupidest noises with it. I love that. I love tweening. I cannot wait till my kids are at that age. And people are like, what the heck? But that's just like so fun for me. It's like they have like actual personalities. They're weird. They start to go online at that point, so you can like talk to them about memes. It's fun.
Yeah. I have my witchy kid sketch that I do, and all of the characters are 5.
Oh my god.
And
I
I,
love those.
I
That sketch is hilarious. That sketch is how I found you. In fact, I saw the one where she's like, "We're not allowed to read this book. It's the most dangerous book in the whole house." Which one is it? The culturally contextual Bible. And I'm like, I'm following her now. I'm following her now. This is accurate. This is
yeah,
very accurate.
I originally started that as like a coping mechanism, hashtag mommy issues, and was like, let's channel this into how I would treat my child if I was in that position, and it went viral accidentally. But I also feel
Yeah.
like it gave me a very wrong perception of what 5-year-olds are really like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
I actually thought they were like seven,
yeah,
seven, 6,
your
7, a
kids
little more
are definitely
precocious.
Well, and
9 years old.
they're supposed to be like too intelligent on purpose. I feel like that's what makes it funny. But
Yeah.
I used to nanny for a 5-year-old, and I remember her from time to time, and I'm like, I don't know if she would have the vocabulary to these things that these kids are
Some
saying.
of
Well,
them.
But
you know what? My Sagittarius son, when he was 5, he was saying some stuff, and like even to this day, he'll say
Dude,
some stuff, and I'm like,
that's my oldest. She's a Sag, and she's just like, she just came out the womb with some fucking like Einsteinian shit. And I'm like, what are you
yeah,
talking
he's a
about?
critical degree Sagittarius too. He's a 29 degree, so he's like with his little
You're
Aries
gonna
moon.
have a
Sag energy. Oh my god, I love it.
you're gonna have a good look at that. I sent you all the info for our little. By the way, Lena does. If you have children, and you're wondering, Lena has readings for that, and I'm getting one, and then I'm gonna review it not only on Etsy but on TikTok to be like, damn, she's fucking truthful as hell. So just so you are aware. And I think that part's important because it helps heal, that inner child part. The more you can, connect with your kids will help with your own inner child.
well, I think that's why I did like the witchy kid skits, because I don't want kids right now, but I want that
Do you want this?
thing with your inner child. So make up a kid.
Is that what you want?
Oh, did I ever
You
tell you
want to
guys that
see?
Lucifer looked at me so sideways? Lucifer looked at me so sideways
What did you
because
do?
Ooh.
during meditation, and I was actually with Nama as well, because I had like very ugly duckly syndrome as a child. I was very much like an actually like goofy looking child. Like my mom would cut my bangs and they'd be all fucked up and shit. So like
Yeah.
my childhood was me being like kind of overcompensating for being ugly by being really funny. So that kind of thing. And so Lucifer and Nama were like, time to heal that. Here's your child. And in meditation, I remember just axing her. I just axed her. And they were like,
That wasn't the
they were like,
point.
holy shit. I was like, I don't want that. I don't need that. And they were like,
Heal me another
they were
way.
like,
Give me the off-brand healing. Thank
yeah, I
you.
was like, no, throw that out. We don't want that. Get it
And
out
I
of
was
here.
like,
Inner child who? I only do my own taxes. And I love playing with my calculator. I don't need a child. I don't need me. Nope.
yeah,
And
but you
so
get the bonus
Lucifer's
every
like,
year, especially if you're unmarried. You get like what, like $500-600 a month or a year for each kid. So
Yeah,
yeah,
but if you're
but
married, you get like $1,200 each year.
but not per kid.
no. But I just remember like everyone's like, oh,
Girl,
inner
what do you
child,
think
and
we
I'm like,
get?
I saw inner
Absolutely.
child. I don't know her.
No, like, don't have kids to solve problems, including coming out of debt. Do
Yeah,
not have
don't do that.
children to come out of
Don't
debt
do that. Don't do that.
because they're trying to change it. But no, like, I don't care. I'll be open with my taxes. Half the reason why we're able to do what we've done what we've done. We have a house. We've bought a house, and a lot of that is because of our taxes. And like, we get 1,200 each kid. 1,200 each kid. Yeah. So that's a good chunk. And I don't work. So that's like when we get that back, that goes into my homeschooling supplies. That goes into restocking the house for the year. It goes into paying off a credit card or two. Like, there is a reason. Do you know how much diapers cost right now? Like, and I cloth diaper and then I
I
use
know.
regular diapers at night. Like, done. It's
No,
expensive as
I
shit.
literally I only cloth diapered my second baby because I was like, I looked at the price of the diapers and I'm like, no, we're not doing that.
Nope.
Same thing with like the pull-ups. I bought him cloth pull-ups and I let him pick them out online, and he picked pink Mickeys, which are just Minnie Mouse ones.
Oh.
Mickey, and I was like,
And you're
oh.
just like, we're We're not going to tell him. We're just going to go with it.
No,
gonna...
no. And if Dexter's like, isn't that
Thank
Minnie?
you.
No, it's not. He thinks Mickey.
Thank you.
Big Mickey.
You want? We are angry again.
You know what else? You know what else is weird about purity culture? The fact that, like, actually, like, as I'm reading a lot of books on, like, magic and Christianity, one of them makes a really great point, which is that, like, this whole idea of, like, a virgin mother, like, really isn't a part of Judaism. Like, that doesn't make any sense in Judaism. In Judaism, it's very much, like, a good thing to be married and have kids.
Yeah.
So it's, like, motherhood is a great thing. Like, it's a good thing, which, obviously, you can't really be a mother without, like, having the precursor to motherhood happen. So it's like... So this idea that, oh no, you can't ever want, like, I've seen people be like, oh, you know, it's sinful even after marriage to want that, and it's like, what the
No.
fuck are you talking about?
That's
what
like, that
actually are you talking about?
That
Like,
kind of stuff.
Did you see that?
A good point. Yeah, she was being real cute. But whatchamacallit?
No, she just grabbed my face and was like, look back at me. Look back at me.
After you get married, there's like this, like, you know, pressure again put on women to, like, you know, perform basically, and, like, you know, do that thing. And there's that verse that's thrown in women's faces, which says, like, oh, you know, the wife does not have authority over her body, right? That's the verse. But if you look at the other half of the verse, it says, but the husband likewise does not have authority over his own body. Like, your bodies belong to each other. Like,
yeah, it's like a partner. It's like a group assignment now.
It's not. And so, like, if there's a pressure for women to perform, why isn't there pressure for men to perform? Right here, it says if you guys are not having, like, a good, you know, whatever, and you're not whatever together, having that kind of relationship together, that Satan's in that relationship. So why is it only women?
If
That
he's
are-
not
there's also
to work overtime, it ain't it.
And also, but then there's that verse, like, you know, men, like, love your wives as you love yourself. Well, if you love yourself, you're not going to make yourself do things that are harmful, that hurt when you're feeling sick or tired. You're not going to make yourself do things that are bad, like, that are going to hurt you. So, like, why the hell are these men in the church doing that to their wife? Like,
hang on. I have specific.
I literally, like, I was thinking,
specific.
You know, you know, whatever positive Christian blog, you know, fill in that word before, bleep positive Christian blog, right? And they were saying, like, you know, why are you asking? And it was like a letter written to men. I don't know why I read it, but I was curious, and it was like, why are you asking your wife to do something, you know, that, like, she doesn't want to do? Why are you asking her to, you know, sacrifice herself during a time where she's not feeling good? Like, that's not your job as a husband. Your job is to lay your life down for your wife. That's what it says in Ephesians. Lay your, you know, your wife's job is to follow you. Okay. But your job is to lay your life down for her. And if that means not getting, you know, something wet for one night, that means not getting it wet for one. Like, come on.
And, you know, actually, with the follow lead, I remember, like, someone said it so well. It's like, oh, you know, men are supposed to be the leaders, then lead. Don't be a little asshole.
Oh, but they're also supposed to they're supposed to lead in a way that's, like, honoring of their wife, and, like, basically, like, if she says, hey, I want to do XYZ, he's supposed to make that possible. Like, that's like a biblical relationship. But, you know, like, the evangelical church will be like, no, you need to, and that was another big problem with me, with my church, is because, like, they want me to date some man who I need to go and submit to. Meanwhile, my husband will work 3 jobs to make sure that I get what?
Yes, that's why it's like,
no.
The whole submit thing always left such a dirty taste in my mouth. I was always just like, no. And, like, listen, my, like, Roman over here, he's honestly, like, he thinks things through more than I do. So he'll be like, no, here's why we should do this instead of that. And I'll listen to that. And I'll be like, okay, because he goddamn explained it. And we talked about it, and it makes sense. If what he's doing don't make sense, then no.
No.
Then there's no amount.
That's like a thing too. You're allowed to check, you know, your partner. You're not supposed to let your partner lead. That's like another thing to sin, right? So if your partner's like, hey, let's do this really radical thing, let's go rob a bank, you don't need to follow them into that. Like, no, that's not your duty.
Also,
you're supposed to lead her in honor, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Mimo pointed out that, like, okay, so Catholics have a vow to abstain after marriage. I've never heard of that, but I have heard a lot of Catholics, like, the Catholic Church officially being like, no, fun time is only for baby making.
Oh,
and
yeah.
it's like, what in the
Oh,
bullshit? What in the nonsense?
I heard it was
Bullshit.
that Mary and Joseph, like Mary was no longer touchable. He couldn't touch her because she was so holy, and so there's that, and
Which is
because of
like,
that, they are supposed to abstain,
But
Oh,
which
Jesus,
is crazy because they were Jewish. You're supposed to have the
yeah, like,
babies.
Jesus had
that's why it's
siblings.
like, they have
They're immaculate.
brothers mentioned of Jesus in the Bible. Like,
He's got cousins. Whose
Oh, no,
wedding
no,
did
no.
they think
So
he
back
went
to
to?
okay, wait. So the catch is, it came to me. You're not supposed to have, like, relations in a way that's not open to having babies. So it could be for, pleasure, but it has to be open to having babies, meaning like no birth control, or like doing something like natural family planning where, if you're doing that, you're tracking your ovulation and whatnot. Personally, I use natural family planning and it's worked, well so far. Knock on
something.
I knocked on several pieces of wood, so I'll be okay.
Here, I'll knock on some wood for you. There you go.
I've heard of
But like,
planning
when
within
you just,
Catholicism. I just don't get it.
I don't get
it's
that
so
either.
dumb.
This is
It's
why,
so
but this is
blatantly
why this
unscientific.
pope of this year, the new pope, the one that we're under now, he was so like revolutionary because he's the first one that was like, birth control, yeah, like you can kind of do that sometimes. So he's like, he was the first one to ever like open the door to that. So hopefully that rhetoric's changing within
I
Catholicism.
remember I heard about a couple that rolled right into the Vatican and they were talking about like how their marriage survived so long because they were asked to do that, and they literally looked the Pope right in the eye and they were like, because we do the do
Oh yeah,
regularly, and like,
Yeah.
and the Pope was like, oh my god, but it's like,
Now,
it's a bonding procedure, like it's not
yeah,
just
it
for
is.
kids.
in a way.
That is different from the yucky purity culture that's being perpetuated in the if you want your husband to be happy every 3 days, make sure you and make
Oh
sure
yeah,
that he's
that's what I was
happy.
gonna say. They encourage you to
Which
like,
has me like,
That was in the
have a
MOPS group,
relationship with.
Lena. That was in the MOPS group. They had women come up and be like, "Yeah, every 3 days I make sure," and then he does listen to me because, especially after, he's so happy he's gonna. And I'm just like,
and how much postpartum were you? Because like nobody touched me for a long time.
nah, no, like
That's
6 months.
like, and
If
why
This is
I got
would your man's want to touch you?
1 month for
Even
every
like that.
stitch, my dude. No.
No, and this is my thing. This is actually why, like, when you put things back in their culture and back in time, right? Like the whole idea that like after a woman gave birth, there was that ritual purity. Like ritual purity means you don't touch each other for however long until
Yeah.
it's back. And
40
to me,
days.
that's good because I've
40
heard horror
days.
stories of men trying to do stuff with their wives like the day after they gave birth. Do you know how unsanitary, dangerous,
You have like
bad
a
that is?
wound. You literally can't. You can't do that. You'll get really sick.
So
Yeah.
40 days
Yeah.
of don't touch me is a fucking blessing.
That's
Like,
like
Yeah.
not even just in Judaism. That's in like several different cultures. Like my midwife, she was Palestinian. Like her and I resonated with that, but she was more, her family was actually like more, I'm only like half or a quarter or whatever. And she was more, like involved in the culture. And in their like religion, you don't touch your, in Islam, you don't touch your partner for like 40 days after, but you also have this like resting, like this, it's like basically being like held in for 40 days where you stay in bed for 40 days and somebody takes care of you. People come in and out.
Beautiful.
Really, really, really like hyped about this. You have no idea how mad she was at me when I told her when I was 12 days postpartum that I went on a 3-mile hike. She was like, Lena, what the? Like she was about to kill me.
Yeah.
But that's what they do in that, and that's not even just there. That's like Chinese culture. That's Japanese culture. Like in China, they literally pay for moms to like stay home for 40 days
Yep.
after they have their babies so that they could be in, and they drink like a bunch of like warm liquids to bring back the warmth to your body because after you have a baby you're considered to be cold. It's like a bunch of like really important, it's a very important and I don't know, our society just definitely lingers it into a
Like-
very weird kind of space.
Like-
You have to bounce
That's the
back
thing.
and be ready for your home.
Yeah, purity culture made it so weird. But then on top of that, again, it's like women are still viewed as that object where it's like you gotta stay pure. Like we literally went back to the Roman times where Thecla was liberating herself from, where it's like you gotta stay pure. But then after that, you're at your husband's beck and call, and it's like,
Yeah, it's no.
no, like you
No.
are a person. And these cultures once recognized that childbirth was a dangerous thing, was a hard thing. So you get treated very well after, during and after, because holy shit, you're like making a whole ass person, and that's hard. Like,
There's a reason why women in Viking culture and Spartan culture were buried as warriors when they died in childbirth. There is a reason. But
Yeah.
also, like in Germany, when I was born, they there was a big thing of like, you just had abdominal surgery, basically. You need to lay down. And my mom was like, no. And in the States, they let you get up and walk around. She goes, in the bed, 3 weeks minimum, in the bed, lay down.
And
Like,
that's like the most absurd thing to me is after moms have C-sections, they like make them walk within 24 hours. What?
Oh my god.
Why?
Oh my god.
Sliced open. Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like your
Dude, I couldn't
abdominal
walk after
muscle
my
getting
gallbladder was
violated.
out. No.
No.
No. I could not. I could barely walk after my like first baby, who I had like normally, quote unquote, normally in a hospital.
Excuse me.
Whatever. Had
Child.
him normal in the hospital. I couldn't walk after him. My second baby was an anomaly because he was a home birth. So like, and I don't know. I had like the power of Christ run through me or something. Like I was just like, my like I was upstairs. I was like chatting with my mom. She's like, Lena, did you really have a baby yesterday? You look like normal again. I'm like, it was the magic.
Body learns after the second one. It's just like, okay, we got it. We're practice.
Go.
Yeah. Like, and you know that my thing was like, I'm very big on advocating, and I'm just like, listen, I know what I'm doing, and I know what I don't want, and you're gonna leave me alone until I tell you my heart feels weird. You're gonna hook me up to all the machines. Until then, leave me the fuck alone and let me just roll on the peanut ball. Okay? Okay. Thank you.
Roll on the people.
Wow.
But no, yeah, overall it's really weird because like, I mean, again, if you don't look at it in context, it does sound really like sketchy, where it's like, why are women not allowed to go outside or like touch people after they give birth? But when you put it back in context, it's like, oh, to keep her safe, to not spread germ, to let her heal.
Yeah. Well, we've been at this for an hour and a half. How are we feeling? How are we feeling?
Feminine rage. Feeling lots of feminine rage. Being there.
Yeah.
Out here ready to fight. Now I'm all riled
Divine,
up. But,
divine feminine rage is what I'm feeling. Let's see.
Someone asked, do I have any good books on Catholic magic? The only one that I really know of at the moment, honestly, is the Italian folk magic book.
That's a good one.
Because it's like even if you're not Italian, it's a great example of how they really combine Catholicism with all kinds of different shit.
And Italian folk magic is an open practice. Like, don't let people tell you otherwise. We like when people like our cultures and appreciate it. Like,
do you pick the card, Boo?
Yeah, if there's something that's closed, you just won't find anything about it because they're family practices. Like, it's very simple. If it's a family practice, no one's publishing it in books, you know?
That's a good card. Thank you. Thank you. That is a very
we are going to do this again. We do this every other week. So today is the 7th.
Not this Tuesday, but
we do it the first and third Tuesday of every month. Why don't this will also be Sarah's YouTube page? You can click the link in her bio to.
Can I have, please?
In the past of these episodes.
Give this to me.
Deity oils and candles. How do we make them appropriately?
I don't. I buy them from Hannah.
Wrong way to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right?
Just buy your deity candles. It's easier.
There's no wrong way to
I buy
them. I would just do like Control F of herbs and stuff in the Bible, and like you'll find herbs that you can dress your candle with. Colors like red or blue or white.
Yeah.
Those are pretty good ones.
So I just made a deity candle on live the other day. I made
I saw that.
And like I used, it's so stupid. I used a picture of Taylor Swift to be Venus because I thought that would be funny. So what I did was I lit the candle and I let it get like warm at the top because I'm not like smart like Hannah and actually using the thing. But so I put a little bit of like my own, like I make like a mother goddess oil. So I put some of that, and which is all like flower and tree oil, like essential oils together. So I put a couple of drops of that, rosemary, roses in there, a couple of rose quartz crystals. Then I taped the picture with a little piece of Midnight's confetti. I taped it there. And that's how I made my candle for her. Nothing difficult, then I just asked her to put her energy into it. I slapped the candle a few times to make sure it was like, clean and whatnot. But that's it. It doesn't have to be anything complicated. I got this candle from Dollar General for $1.25, and I made myself a Saint, a Venus candle with Saint Taylor Swift on it. It's beautiful.
Please be careful with brujeria. A lot of Catholic magic, and all of that includes hoodoo as well, it's appropriating in a lot of spaces and it's closed. So please, 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 unless you have that in your background, do some soul searching. Don't just instantly go pick up a book and go be like, this is what I'm going to do. Like, do some soul searching. Look back at who your family's from, where you're from, what your culture is. And then you'll see how the church oppressed the people, made them convert, and they use the Bible for their spells. But don't just open a book and assume you can go ahead. Just because it's out there doesn't mean you can use it. Make sure you do your background work. Please, 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 please. Otherwise, we're going to get some. Don't touch that!
A good rule of thumb is that if it's outside Europe, ask first, find people to initiate you, because in Europe's kind of a free-for-all. I mean, obviously you can still screw it up, you can still, like, be disrespectful, but it's not as bad. Like, in Voodoo, especially if you're actually, like, working with African deity like the Orisha, they will fuck you up.
They will fuck you up.
If you are not meant to, like, they will let you know in very dangerous ways that they don't want to fuck with you. So, like, don't just jump into cultures that aren't yours. Don't do that.
Yep. So anything with and hoodoo is iffy because it's a thing that anybody can do, but it is African in nature. So be careful with hoodoo.
Hoodoo is
be careful with.
I'm pretty sure hoodoo is hoodoo itself is a closed practice because I'm like, if I'm correct, I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's an offshoot of like voodoo itself, but it was more an Americanized version of that and not like more like Louisiana practice. So you can't, that's definitely something that's just like, you also like don't want to do things like that. My father grew up in Haiti and he's told me some stories about like things that people have done with it. And it's absolutely incredible, but it's not something for the average Joe who's not growing up in that culture and learning about it on like from birth. You don't want to mess with it. It's very much very specific way of spirits and knocking and invoking and not mess with.
So there's hoodoo aspects of it in Appalachian magic, and that's because when the slaves and freed African Americans came up through, there were families that melded together, cultures were melded together, practices were melded together. Same goes for the indigenous culture there as well. So Appalachian practice is open, but be mindful of what you're picking up if you have not been taught that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And again,
like and that's the same with all of it.
If there's a deity or a spirit involved, be double careful, because I've heard things from as like as not dangerous as like a bunch of witches ceremony for a rain goddess being totally ruined by said rain goddess dumping an entire storm on them, to these deities literally like taking people out for the disrespect. Like actually like you are no longer in the physical plane, like gaunt because they screwed with them.
No, you're okay, little boo.
Yeah. Well, with that, guys.
How about we go around where we can talk about where the people can find us and when we'll do this time, and we'll figure out a topic by then. But Sarah is up here, so why don't you go first?
All right, yeah. Obviously you can find me on TikTok. I'm also on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. I have a Facebook page too, technically, but that's only so that I can use Instagram business features. But if you're on Facebook, it is there. I also wrote a book, which, goddamn it, this time I'm gonna have it.
Yes, you are.
Right next to me. For the love of Jesus. I wrote, if you like fantasy and you like enemies to lovers, I do have this book here also that you can grab. Link is in my TikTok bio. That link in my bio has links to literally everything. Patreon, my website, where you can get this, everything, all of it. And so, literally that one link is like the one link to rule them all. Just use that.
Yeah, come here. Oh my goodness.
I mean, Hannah, you want to go first?
Sure.
Yeah.
So,
my kid got naked. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Come here.
So everything for me in my bio as well. I still have a couple of classes left if anyone wants to go pick them up. The candles will be back at some point. I don't fucking know, probably like Saturday or something. Patreon. With my Patreon, you can join the Discord server. Their social media is in the link in my bio as well.
So thank you for sharing, Hannah. Hi, my name's Lita. You can find me here on TikTok. I'm Lena the Jesus Witch. I also have a podcast, Jesus Witch podcast, and a free Discord group. You can find me in the link in my bio. I also have a Patreon where I do spells and tarot spreads and all that kind of stuff. And I have an Etsy shop where you can grab talking readings with me, astrology readings, all that good stuff over there, Bible-based stuff, all that kind of stuff. All this. Your turn, Mimi.
Okay, hi, I'm Mimi.
Baby.
I have the witchiest of booze, but you can find me here on TikTok, Feral Southern Housewife. I do have a blog that is started, but being ADHD perfectionist, I don't want to put any of the posts up until it looks pretty. So if you want to follow me at feralsouthernhousewife.wordpress.com, you can. I will be putting my witchy homeschool stuff out here starting in the summer because I'm almost done testing it. And that's where I'm at. I also have an Instagram. I don't know how the fuck it works. I had it for a while, and then I don't know how to make it pretty, so I don't want to touch it. Because again, if it doesn't look pretty, why are you going to look at it? So I'm just kind of like there. You can follow me if you want to, but like, yeah, you can pretty much just find me here on TikTok for right now. I also am on YouTube, but my reels are pretty much just reposts to the TikTok right now until I can get that stuff going. But yeah, we're good. I have way too much fucking chaos to sit down and record videos right now, so.
One day soon. But alright, that is it. That is our discussion on purity culture. I hope this was helpful to some of you guys to rethink like what these things were actually for, what they meant back then, how you can just toss them right out the door now if you want to. And we will be back in a couple weeks on the 21st for another go round of a new topic. If you guys want to use our question function, like the question and answer, to leave us questions, we can decide a theme based off of that, so do keep that in mind. And otherwise, yeah, we will see you guys around.
Oh, before we leave, one more thing. Trans rights are human rights.
Hell yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Facts.
Yes.
Fuck purity culture.
All right.
Everybody's loved. Okay, bye.
Bye.
See you guys. Bye.